Middle of winter. Bozo dog. How's it going there, viewers? Well, this is a follow-on video from my latest video, being the mast raising, single-handed mast raising video, which I got quite a few comments on in regards to a few particular things. Some of the viewers out there, some of you guys wanted a bit more information, so that's what this video is for. So we had viewers wanting to know more about how the gin pole attached to the mast step. We had one viewer send me a message wanting to know about the length of the gin pole, because they quite like the way that I can actually sit up on the rail at the front and just pull the mast up. They were saying that their gin pole is too long, they can't do that. Well, we'll just quickly address that one. The gin pole really can be as long as you like, or as long as it needs to be. I've seen gin poles that are this long, and it works. It comes down to where, I suppose, you attach the main sheet or whatever it is you're using to the deck. So let's have a quick look at that. Okay, so my gin pole mounts underneath the trailer. I've just got a couple of brackets I made up with some Nylex nuts on them. Nylex nuts, don't use anything else. Vibrating down the road, comes off. Next thing you know, you've got a gin pole sticking through the bottom of your boat or going through some guy on a motorbike. So yeah, make sure you put proper fixings on there. Nylex nuts are the way to go. So we'll get that out, and I will show you how it attaches to the mast step. Once again, this could be different for your boat, but we'll talk about that. And we'll look at the length of it and where I attach the main sheet up on the bow to the front of the gin pole. Okay, so imagining that the gin pole is attached to the mast step, which it isn't at the moment, it's just resting there. But I have put a fixing on the bow, just here. This is actually, there used to be a bollard here. And I took that off because I found that it actually used to catch on the bottom of on the foot of the jib a lot. Yeah, and you'd get like a lot of mark on the jib and run the risk of it. In fact, sometimes during attack, it would actually get hooked up on it. A bit of a design fault. I don't know if it was the original bollard. Maybe there was a smaller one on there or something. Took that off. I didn't really need it. And I mounted this staple, I think they're called. Hasp. Hasp would be that thing. Yeah, that'd be a staple. Hooky thing on the bow. Made sure I mounted it nice and secure underneath with some plates to spread the load out, because basically we're pulling the whole load of the mast up from that point. You could use that point, I suppose, but then I'd have to make the gin pole longer to attach to that, and then I wouldn't be able to sit up the front, which is really nice and comfortable and easy for me. So as it turned out, I decided to use this, made the gin pole as long as I needed to, and I get to sit up on the bow. So anyway, yeah, nice solid point there. And then, this gin pole is made out of a length of 1.6 wall thickness, pre-gal, not hot dip gal, pre-gal, off the shelf, 40 by 40 box section. And you'll get that at your local big green shed. Or for my overseas viewers in the States, the equivalent would be your Home Depot, I suppose. Here it's called Bunnings. I can say that because I'm not saying anything negative about them. Well, why would I? I work for them. Have done for a very long time. Anyway, I digress. So, gin pole is however long it is. I think it's just a standard length, For memory, I think this is a 2.4 length or whatever it was. I didn't cut it down to suit. I actually put a little plastic plug in the end of it to make it look very professional, and that fell out. And it is starting to rust, so I probably should get it painted or painted. But yeah. Hook the main sheet onto here, hook the other end of main sheet onto there, and that is the fixing at the front. Now, as far as the length goes, you could use a gin pole half the length. It just depends on where you're going to attach it to the deck. What you don't want is to have the gin pole finishing here and then the line coming down at an angle like that. You're losing, I suppose, what are you losing there? Well, you're losing purchase. You want a nice straight line up and down, not an angles and things like that. I don't think purchase is the right term. Someone put something there in the comments, but basically if that's going pretty much straight up and down, when it's in the down position and the mast is in the up position, that's got to give you the best advantage. Aha, there you go. There's the term I was looking for. Right, so that's this point addressed. That's the length of the gin pole sort of addressed. If you want to have a nice comfy seat up there so that you can just pull the thing up nice like you see me do in the videos, then make it that length. If you wanted to, I haven't actually seen this, but I've heard of guys that you utilise a winch, like an ATV winch or even their trailer winch, where they have a gin pole that would come out over the top of this rail, and they utilise an electric winch or this hand winch. I don't need to. This mast isn't that heavy. Maybe if it was a much bigger trailer sailor, that it might be a little hard to do by hand, even with a block and tackle. You could always make up a purpose-built block and tackle and have 25 to bloody 1 or something. I don't know. But I just use a main sheet, and it's not hard. I can do it quite easily. But you could make this even longer, and you can utilise pulleys and things, and utilise an electric winch. Utilise seems to be the word of the day again. But I don't do that. I just sit up there, hook the main sheet onto that, and pull the bloody thing up. All right, let's have a look at the other end where it attaches to the mast step. Okay, so that block of wood in there, which is a chunk of H4 treated pine sleeper, because that's what I found kicking around when I decided to make this thing, is held into the mast step with two stainless steel bolts with lock nuts, because they don't vibrate off when you're going down the highway. And imagine that was gone. That's no longer there because the mast is sitting in the step that way. I attach this to there. It just slides in and the bolt goes through, and that's it. That's how I attach it. Now, like I've said a few times now, I've got no idea what your mast step looks like. And if you can't do that, you could attach the gin pole to the base of the mast. I didn't like the idea of doing that because I've got 13 million holes in the mast as it is at the moment. I didn't think 13 million and 2 was a good idea. Drilling more holes in the base to make a mast step. I've seen guys that have tied things on and made up things with bits of wood, and they hold them in place with their feet, and they're really dodgy. I would come up with some sort of a bracket in front of the mast step, possibly. It's just a pivot point. It doesn't have to be on the mast step. Close to it would be good. But it could be on the mast itself, down at the base of the mast. It could be on the deck in front of the mast step, or it could be attached to the mast step. You're going to have to work out how to do that yourself, because I don't know what your mast step looks like. Right, so that's how it attaches to the mast step. Moving right along, let's look at baby stays. Oh yes, baby stays. So I attach my baby stays to the mast with a very cheap and nasty little spring type clip, which I'm going to replace because that's going to break. I'm going to put a decent quality stainless steel one on there. It's one of them things, when you do a job and you go, I'll just use these to get it working and set it all up, and then I'll replace them with something really good, and you never do it. That's one of them. It's been like that for a couple of years. Anyway, I will be replacing that. But yes, I've just pop riveted on a couple of staples again. I don't know what you want to call them. I'm sure there's a professional name for them. Little loopy things that I can snap my snap hook onto. And I did that as high up the mast as I can reach when I'm standing on the deck. And I've really got to reach for it. I can only just sort of get it. But I did that. I wanted to get as high up the mast as I can get to get more purchase, more angle up the mast. Once again, someone's going to come back in the comments and tell me what the correct terminology is for it from an engineering point of view. But I suppose the higher up the mast it is, the more purchase or the more leverage or the more effect it's going to have of stopping the mast from falling over the side. I suppose when I think about it now, if it was the higher up the mast it goes, the least load would be actually on the particular rope that I've used. Anyway, once again, I'm digressing. Put the thing as high up the bloody mast as you can go so you can reach it, so you can take the thing off when you're actually on the water. You don't want them up there all the time. It's not a permanent thing. It's just a temporary thing. If you're just going out for a little day sail, you might want to leave them on there. I usually just take them off because it's just easy to do. Right, so I've got those things as high up the mast from the base of the mast as I can get. So when I'm standing here on the deck, I can reach up there and unhook them. All right, so that's that. Now, what did I make them out of? Well, I just made them out of an old halyard. I had to replace a halyard. This thing was a main sheet halyard, which had sort of got chewed out through no fault of my own, me just doing something silly. I can't remember the exact name of this stuff. It's not Spectra. It's got a Dyneema core and it's coated with it's bloody expensive stuff, but it's really, really strong and it doesn't stretch. Its stretch rating or whatever is bugger all. So I suppose that's important. You can use anything to make these baby stays. It doesn't have to be bloody stainless steel wire and marine grade stuff. They're a temporary thing. They're only on there to get the mast up and down. It doesn't have to be, super, super strong and can, hold up the harbour bridge. It just has to do the job. You could use a length of nylon rope, I suppose, if it didn't stretch too much. And even if it did stretch a little bit, you just can always adjust it, I suppose, can't you? But I chose this because I know it didn't stretch. I could tie knots in it so that I could adjust it to work out how to actually get this thing to work when I was originally doing this for the first time. And once again, I just left it because it worked. So let me go through how I've done that. I put another one of them little stapley things, eye things, somebody will tell me what they're called, basically up there next to one of these bollards, made sure it was substantially fixed into the hull, underneath with a plate. So that's one point. I then use the thing that the bloody shroud's attached to, chain plate. No, that's a chain plate down there, isn't it? I attached them to that thing, the wires that stop the stick from falling over the side. Attached them to that, once again, just with a cheap bloody gal shackle, a couple of shackles that I had kicking around, and put a shackle in the middle there. Now, you'll see that we've got like a triangle effect there, right? And why is this so, I hear you ask? Well, that is where we get to the important part about baby stays. They need to be at the same height as the bottom of the mast, and they need to be at the same point on the boat where the mast step is. Basically, they just need to be in line with the mast step, both up and down and forward and back. So to do that, I made the triangle shape thing. Just let me get that off there. All right. And if you have a little look through there, pretty much this point here is perfectly in line with that point there, which is the bottom of the mast. That's where the mast sits. That's like a pin that the mast rotates on as it goes up, as it traverses. So you do need to get a triangle type situation happening so that you can adjust this thing to get it in line with the bottom of your mast. And if you do that, as I said in the mast raising video, as the mast lifts off that prop at the back, those stays will stay tight. And that's what stops the mast from falling over the side. Once I've got the mast up, I've secured the forestay and we're all nice and safe. I just unclip the baby stay from there. I undo these two shackles here. I roll them up and throw them down below, and that's that job done. Mast is up. So, to recap, I'm sure there's something I forgot. All right, length of gin pole doesn't really matter too much. Make it long enough to give you some sort of effect, some sort of a turning moment, because it is a lever. Make sure that you fix it to the deck securely. If you want to have the luxury of sitting down whilst you're pulling the mast up, well then make it the appropriate length. If you want to utilise an electric winch or the boat trailer winch or whatever it is, you're going to come up with something there, well then you need to make it long enough to get over the railing at the front. How you attach it to the mast step depends on your mast step. What is it made out of? Something that won't break. I use 40 by 40, 1.6 wall thickness pre-gal tube from your local hardware store or steel merchant. Baby stays attached to the mast as high as you can get them, but make it so you can unclip them. What did I use? Something that didn't break. something strong enough to hold the weight of the mast going sideways. I used rope because I can tie knots in it and made it easy to adjust to get that point, once again, the all-important point, level with the bottom of the mast, both up off the deck and from fore and aft. I'm pretty sure that's about it for this video. Oh, I suppose people might think, well, how does it all work again? Well, watch the bloody video that I made. But yes, attach the spinnaker halyard, because it comes from the top of the mast, to this point on the gin pole. Attach the main sheet to this point on the gin pole and this point on the deck. And then you just pull it up. One very, very important thing you need to remember. Put your wind indicator on the top of the mast before you pull the mast up, because what will happen is you'll pull the mast up and go, oh, shit, and then you've got to drop it back down again. So yeah, don't do that. I do that all the time. Well, not all the time, but I do it enough to really piss myself off. Anyway, that's it. Right, so there's a little bit more information on the mast raising setup. I hope that's answered the questions for the viewers out there that asked them. Once again, thank you to all of my subscribers. We've actually hit 567 subscribers. Got quite a few from the last 2 videos. Seems the algorithm of YouTube is working. Oh, you guys are all telling your friends, which would be really good. So if you're not telling your friends, tell your friends. Well, they might just want to laugh at me. I don't know. That's cool as long as they subscribe. It helps me, apparently. It might mean that I have a better retirement. Yeah, I might be able to afford the petrol to tow this thing around to go sailing. Anyway, guys, you all have a great day. It's an absolutely cracking day down here after the East Coast low that we all just went through. I spent all day yesterday cleaning up the backyard. Bamboo everywhere. That's cool. Yeah, I'm hoping to get out in the water soon. And we'll see you in another episode of Sailing Head Injuries. Stay safe out there, yeah?